Pigeons, vamos fazer reaction. This is how humanity gave this animal the middle finger by channel Casual Geographic. What the fuck is this? That looks like a pigeon, but it's not a pigeon, is it? Look at this shit. Looks like a pigeon. It is a pigeon, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, okay. Recently I saw the post from Casual Geographic how his famous videos or the one that doing really well got demonetized. I mean, look, I don't know why YouTube does that. Okay, I get it. Casual Geographic is like kind of like, place that like, it's nightmarish place, right? All the things that Casual Geographic talk about is nightmarish. But the topic is nightmaric. No, I don't think the scene, I don't remember any other scene. I mean, sure, there's like few of them that could be like, okay, problematic. But even then, they're like mostly factual based. It is what it is. And it's for a few seconds. I'm pretty sure it blurs it when there's like too much issue. So I don't get it. I don't get the justification. That happens a lot. I don't get it. Like sometimes point blank, oh, this is not suitable. Why? The reasons. That sometimes just happens. And it is convenient that it happens to the most well-doing video of him, basically, right? And I'm pretty sure, of all the reactions I've did of him, the most famous of those reactions, like the one that got most views for me, something like 10, 12,000, right? There are 2, 3, I don't know. There's few of them that got that kind of views. And I'm pretty sure even mine are there's like yellow or basically not suitable type of thing. Right, I didn't notice that. Like, I post so much video, I don't notice it like this. But one day I just noticed, like, oh, okay, maybe it had a really fucked up thing. But now thinking back, it's just famous. It's like top 3 or 4 videos from him at least. So I guess after certain points, after a certain threshold, YouTube just basically manually checks. It's like, whoa, we can't have this. I think that kind of. So I'm guessing this video is not going to be as intense or as effed up as his previous video because he's not going to take that kind of chance. Or maybe it will. It will be just based on normal facts rather than actual some scenes or something. I don't know. But yeah, Casual Geographic usually tells you nightmarish things about the real world. So let's watch it.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Nah, no way they're gonna kill this pigeon.
You definitely know who this is and why he was an icon, but did you know there were at least 2 creatures that khaki animal Jesus was afraid of? 1, hippos.
What?
No further explanation needed, but also parrots. Yeah, the same Steve Irwin that cuddled crocodiles, got a hickey from a python on live TV and apologized to the python, and did this, was the same man that experienced legitimate fear in the face of an overgrown parakeet. And the crazy part is, that has nothing to do with this video. I really only brought that up to make my biggest fear sound less ridiculous.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard of accounts parrots being a dick and basically just like using their beaks to attack people. It's like, I guess it kind of makes sense. Sure, why not?
Because out of all the animals in the world, I've historically only been afraid of 1. I've held 8-foot pythons when I was 6. I've had no problems with the spiders in my house. I've always had a soft spot for sharks, yet the one animal that could stop me dead in my tracks. Matter of fact, just guess. What do y'all think I'm about to say? Here's an ad while you grapple with that. Pigeons. It's always been pigeons. I could never fully explain it, but as early as I can remember, these bum doves.
Okay, what is it? Here's a what?
Here's an ad while you grapple with that. Pigeons.
Where's the ad? What? Oh, I guess he put ad there. Okay. But YouTube doesn't trigger that all the time. YouTube decides when to trigger mid-air or something. Oh,
it's always been pigeons. I could never fully explain it, but as early as I can remember, these bum doves put the fear of Dante's Inferno in every fiber of my vessel.
Okay,
There's 2 stories that sum up my feelings towards pigeons. As a kid, I could vaguely remember crossing the street with my dad when one of the spawns of avian antichrist popped out from under the car like a Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare. And from the way my dad likes to tell this story, apparently I recoiled so bad that I jumped back and nearly got turned into a speed bump by a passing van. There is an alternate universe where my irrational fear of pigeons cost my folks a dependent and had me heaven sent. So this is really more exposure therapy than an actual video, and the first step is understanding. There are a lot more types of pigeons than my subconscious could ever curse me with. There's over 350 pallets of pigeons populating the planet. You got the Victoria crowned pigeon, the biggest bird on the roster, whose headdress got it named after royalty. Then there's the Nicobar, the closest thing to a present-day dodo, and definitely the hypebeast flexor of the family. Can't forget the Karuru, the New Zealand variant famous for being a crippling alcoholic. As in, they'll get so hammered off fermented fruit that they legit forget how to fly. And you've probably
What
heard the
the
phrase turtle
hell?
dove, especially this time of year. Well, today I found out that I apparently had no clue what they look like, or that they originated from the Middle East. A hop, skip, and an 8-hour flight to the Philippines, and you'll find a Luzon bleeding heart pigeon named
How
for
is that a
obvious
pigeon?
reasons.
Okay.
You got the silvery wood, the maroon pigeon, and the purple-winged dove, all of which are in danger of being discontinued. And then you got the pigeons humans bred like dogs, which would easily make this the pug of poultry. It's like a pigeon police sketch done by a kindergartner
It
on
is
Adderall
real?
with no prior knowledge of anything bird.
It's like shoved all the internals on the top, just like made weird as legs and what the fuck?
There's hundreds of breeds of pigeons, and the English pouter might just be the nastiest work of all. Although the English carrier might just be a close second, because honestly, what in the what even is this? What was the goal if this was the outcome? All those pigeon remixes go back to the OG, the rock dove, aka the main mugshot that comes up when you Google pigeon. And this is where I stopped hating and started learning. For example, the rock dove was originally only found here. Well, actually here in the dark red. That's right, any place outside this red is a place
Obviously in India as well. There are way too many pigeons here.
people uber the scourge of my soul. That includes what might as well be the pigeon capital of the world, New York City. So of course I just had to grow up 15 minutes from it because RNG. Apparently, pigeons first touched American soil in the early 1600s via Europeans. That means the flying city merchant is more natural to the Sahara Desert than to the streets of Manhattan. Which brings me to half the reason I'm making this video.
But then again, isn't everything in Manhattan not from there? More natural somewhere else than that. Alright, pigeons, obviously, we have pigeons here a lot, right? Okay, I was having like a renovation done, and the balconies were basically unused for a decent enough time. Somehow pigeon decided to make it their playground, not to live there. There are no house or pigeon house, whatever it's called, fuck it, whatever. So that's not there. They basically just come here to play for whatever reason, like literally play. You think like, what the fuck is happening? So every time I see like, okay, what they basically come, walk around like somebody just walking in the park, play or just get in a fight or something and just fly away every single time. I put a net there, right? PVC net just to stop them coming because there's shit everywhere and it's just horrendous. And I can't deal with that kind of dirty shit, especially when you realize that this is things like bird flu and God knows what. People I'm pretty sure in my society, there's one house that got a certain type of disease because of pigeon shit. So that also amplified it. So I did that, and they basically, they were walking like fucking Spider-Man. I didn't know pigeon did that. They literally, grabbed the net with their, feet or whatever, and was like walking upwards. What the fuck? How are a pigeon doing that? And actually made enough damage to the net that I had to remove it. Like at that point, there was no use. So they forcibly come back to wherever they start playing in the balconies, and they're still doing that today, right? Even to this day, in the morning they just come here, play, and run away. There's no reason to it. You think like, is it about survival? Is it about like finding a home to? No, it's just like to play. Just I don't know, wholesome in a way, right? When you really see like, oh, okay, look at the pigeons playing, it feels fun. But yeah, at the same time, it just kind of be annoying. But I don't understand the fear element of it. But then again, most phobias, I don't understand the spider fear either. But maybe it's because of eyes and legs. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I might have a phobia of cockroach because I can't deal with that shit. But I guess I'm mostly grossed out than anything else. So who knows?
What's the one thing you spend way too much time thinking about?
I think all the time about how we domesticated pigeons and then we decided we don't want to use them anymore for like messages. So they are completely reliant on humans. Have you ever seen like a nest of a pigeon?
No, and I didn't know we domesticated them either.
Yeah, they're like nests or like 3 twigs and like the
Just because you use some of them for messaging doesn't mean you domesticated them.
egg is just on the cold ground. So
Because they don't know how to build a nest because we messed them up?
yeah.
I did not know how to take this revelation, and after looking into it, she's half right. Pigeon nest is a meme as old as time. This is really something only an animal with no access to birth control could come up with. It's heavy on them kids, but before they're even born. At this point, it's like they're trying so hard.
Okay, we have that kind of effect on animals that have nothing to do with us. We just existing causes issue like that. That's why a lot of species are going extinct, right? Because their whole system gets fucked up. Their whole clock gets fucked up because we interfere in their thing basically just by existing. So okay, did we do this because we made them messengers and they just like fucked up? Okay, this is more direct than indirect, but this happens all the time.
hard not to try that it would literally take less effort to try. The thing is, they weren't named rock dove for nothing. In the wild, they'd normally raise their aesthetically challenged children on cliff ledges or crevices, which ended up being not that far off from where they shack up now. And as long as the ground's flat and the egg doesn't roll away to become a late termination and an early onset omelet, this is really all they need. Minimalism for the win. But the other point she made about us pretty much abandoning them, turns out it's pretty accurate. Which actually brings me to my second story. So I had spent the day walking around New York with my mom and was understandably starving. So hungry that we decided to get food from a street side meat vendor. The cardinal sin of the city, but we didn't know any better. The food was immediately off, but let's be honest, not enough for me to stop. I remember the meat tasting gamey and fatty and had this really strong aftertaste that I'd never experienced before. It wasn't until I was 2/3 done that I noticed a small cage halfway tucked under the stand. A small cage with maybe a dozen pigeons squirming around. It was
What
at
the
this
fuck?
moment I realized I was sold a chicken leg lie. Your boy just ate some pigeon wings.
Okay. Streets of Manhattan is like that, like some streets of some town in India type of way. Like people are just like on the street selling things just to get by, and they'll unregulated do anything. It's a Manhattan street. Isn't that supposed to be more regulated? Like what's happening, what's not? I don't know. It just feels weird to me. For Manhattan, New York, for fuck's sake, one of the most famous and biggest cities of the world. It's just weird. So it's just like, okay, you know, pigeon, chicken, bird is bird. What the fuck you talking about? And he just did that shit. Why not?
Now that story is almost completely made up, but peep how just the idea of getting calories from a concrete chicken probably disgusted most of y'all. The thing is, pigeons are regularly eaten by people in a lot of places. Squab is a name for an immature prepubescent domestic pigeon, and it's considered a delicacy depending on where you're standing. Which shouldn't even really be a surprise, because one thing about pigeons, they get violated by the entire food chain. I've seen with my eyes pigeons get absolutely bodied by a street-savvy Stuart Little. They somehow manage to find ways to take L's from turtles. In fact, there's a catfish that specializes in murking an animal that literally got gift-wrapped the ability to fly. And to add insult to injury, the fish is virtually blind. How do you fumble that bad? Pretty much the entire cast of Over the Hedge plays population control for pigeons, and we've all seen how pelicans conduct themselves in pigeon presence. And humans were no different, and food was one of the many reasons pigeons were added to the American census. Another reason was to employ them as messengers before iPhone became a thing. But another reason was for pets. There was a time where owning a pack of pigeons wasn't just normal, it was a sign of status. If you had pigeons on your property, it meant you were probably doing well in life. Akbar the Great of the Mughal Empire had not one, but 2,000 pigeons as wow, that is a comma. Make that 20,000 pet pigeons. But in the time since, hoarding pigeons went from a flex to something that guarantees you dirty looks on the subway. And that's thanks to one of the most egregious gaslight campaigns you've ever seen. In June 1966, New York Parks Commissioner Thomas Hoving verbally eviscerated pigeons, blaming them for spreading filth and disease, and used a term you've definitely heard of, rats with wings. And
Oh yeah, rats with wings. Yeah. Yeah, pigeon thing in India, I know that like it's like big thing, you know, in Delhi, especially in Delhi. Akbar makes sense. Delhi, you know, sultanates, I guess. That's why basically if you go to Delhi, there'll be way too many fucking pigeons, right? It's become so big that even in the movies and songs they show that, because it's not that hard to do. Just take a camera and shoot it. There's gonna be pigeons. So I'm guessing because of, you know, the love, Delhi Sultanate's basically love of it, so they're still there surviving. I don't know. I don't like pigeon because of like diseases, right? And I know the people have been, you know, admitted to hospital. The people that I know of because of pigeon shit, let's just say, which is like no. So that campaign might not be it might be extreme, but not be, you know, that far off, right? You know, I like pets, right? I like animals, birds and everything, but there's a limit to it. We know that, you know, diseases do jump from animal to humans, and that's disastrous. Not fault of animals, obviously, but it does happen. So you need to take that, you know, very carefully.
just like that, the pigeon's reputation went straight to hell with no return trip. A couple things that are interesting though. In the same article, Mr. Hoving also blamed the homeless and homosexuals for bringing property value down. He also became the commissioner January 16, 1966 and resigned March 15th of the next year. His actual term was just over a year, but the slander he tagged the Metro Tweety with was permanent. Then Woody Allen dogpiled on them and humanity has hated pigeons ever since.
Oh, it's not pretty at all. They're rats with wings.
It's kind of like how Mark Twain roasted coyotes so flagrantly, not only did it single-handedly earn them smoke from the public, it was directly responsible for the luckless Looney Tune. That's not a throwaway joke either.
Or how Popeye did sailors, basically.
Look up what Wile E. Coyote was based on. It's actually wild. But thanks to these 3 words, the bird that was more common in royalty than marrying your cousin got typecast as the flying version of the animal whose hygiene allegedly turned half the population into a hashtag. I gotta say allegedly because new evidence suggests that rats weren't even responsible for the plague to begin with.
Why the fuck you lying?
Pigeons got lied on too because they're nowhere near the disease risk we label them as, and I legitimately didn't know that before researching. They can carry disease, but because of their immune system, it's actually rare for them to transmit them to people. I know, I couldn't believe it either. It also turns out the
I think this disease is not about the direct, like a big fucking disease, like virus type of way. It's more like your everyday diseases. That's some, obviously it's like unsanitary things will, catch diseases basically. And pigeon poop is basically that. And pigeon basically poops a lot. I don't get it where it's coming from. I've seen a lot of birds, but I've seen crows flying around, but they don't shit everywhere. So pigeon do have like a lot of in that area, and pigeon poop does carry like certain type of everyday viruses, but still something that you can contract. I don't know, so it could be anything, right? E. coli, God knows what, salmonella, I don't know. Basically your everyday diseases that still like you don't think about, but it's still fucked up. Because I know people have been hospitalized. I know the people often the cause was pigeon poop.
glorified gutter tweety is actually resistant to bird flu. Now they still can catch you slipping, and usually the problems come from their lesser half. When pigeons drop deuces in one spot, it can dry up and eventually turn into dust. Breathe enough of that doo-doo dust and you can end up with a nasty infection known as bird handler's lung. But even then, it takes a lot, like on some you clean bird as a hobby for you to be exposed enough to be down bad. So yeah, pigeons carry diseases,
oh,
but
really?
no more than...
Not really. If you're just a pigeon lover, surrounded by it, trying to feed the pigeon, where you live, there's pigeon all around it, you don't mind it, it's like bullshit everywhere, just like, yeah, it happens, right? You clean it, but there's going to be a lot of it. You're going to be exposed somewhat, right? Unless you have OCD level of cleaning, which you track every single of your movement and just clean yourself by making your life living hell. Unless you do that, you're going to be fucked.
than any other animal. I mean, by that logic, humans carry disease, but we're still out here raw dogging handshakes. Dogs can carry disease, yet I still see people tongue kissing them. Deer are walking Airbnbs for ticks peddling Lyme disease, and cats done infected half the people watching this. Yet pigeons are the ones that got tattooed as rodents with frequent flyer miles.
I don't think that's fair though, right? Because you meet people all the time. You are in like public places. People go to fucking concert and shit. How many times people get, sick, right? If you're gonna be exposed to that kind of a pigeon level, there's a extreme high chance you will be sick in some form, right? So I don't know, because humans don't shit everywhere, pigeons do, and that's a problem. So a handshake alone doesn't mean nothing.
Between 1941 and 2003, there have been 176 documented cases of pigeons passing off disease to a human. And again, it'd virtually take you being Buddy from that one Hey Arnold episode. You know what else I found out? Pigeons don't really spill sugar honey iced tea while flying. They 100% can, but since that could involve hitting their own feet, they prefer to do it on a perch. So it turns out the dirtiest thing about pigeons is the way we've done them. Which actually sucks, because once I started to work past my pigeon prejudice, I realized, I can't believe I'm about to say this, pigeons are low-key broken, like they're mad talented for no reason. Like for example, they're one of the fastest things with wings in the world. Pigeons can fly at averages of 60 miles per hour, but can peak out at nearly 100. There have even been stories of pigeons triggering speed cameras in streets. We don't really notice because one of their biggest ops also happens to be the fastest thing alive, which is how they can get packed up by a 200 mile per hour falcon punch. But pigeons still have the juice to dodge a peregrine and live to talk about it. Put it this way, the fastest thing on earth hunts pigeons, and even that's not a total mismatch. And a good reason is another superpower we don't talk about, their eyes. The only real self-defense pigeons practice is the power of foresight. So if they don't see danger coming, or worse, don't recognize it, they just get bullied. But pigeons have 340-degree vision and can even see wavelengths of light invisible to us. They're so busted that the US Navy once upon a time tried using the chicken of the city to conduct search and rescue missions out in the ocean. Basically, they trained a couple pigeons to recognize random red or orange objects, the colors you'd expect from a life jacket, and then press, or more like peck, on a switch on site. In test runs,
Yeah. Look, pigeons. The whole video is about fucking pigeons, and pigeons are a nuisance. But still, one thing I've noticed about pigeons, another this like my own experience. The pigeon will be afraid of you at first, but when they realize like you're just like all steam and nothing, right? They'll basically be stop afraid of you. So basically, when I'm sitting here, right, there's a balcony here, right? Sometimes I see pigeon, I know they're gonna crap everywhere. I'm just gonna make some gesture of my hand. They'll fly away. Next time I do that, they'll basically flinch a bit, but won't fly away. And a day after that, they won't even flinch. They know I'm not getting up. I'm not getting up from my sofa and doing anything. So basically, I didn't know they had that kind of a fucking intelligence. That's the one thing I've noticed.
the pigeons notice the target 90% of the time, completely outclassing the human rescue crew who just barely pulled off 40%. Then there's the fact that the pigeons could remain vigilant for hours without falling off. Unfortunately, the experiment was cut short due to budget cuts, and every pigeon involved getting killed during a crash landing. But even this experiment showcased another pigeon flex. They're way smarter than they get credit for. They probably would if they could talk like parrots or ravens.
Seriously, like I said.
But even with a brain in the weight class of a walnut, pigeons can still surprise us. Trained pigeons can actually pass the mirror test, the same one most dogs and cats fail. In 1995, a study found that pigeons could be taught to tell the difference between a Picasso painting and Monet. I'm not gonna lie to you, I myself can't do that. To a similar beat, pigeons could
Are
be
you telling me a pigeon is smarter than me?
trained to tell apart malignant breast tumors from the benign. And yeah, we're still talking about a bird here. A German study in 1990 found that the avian overachievers could successfully memorize 725 different black and white patterns and correctly identify the 100 patterns associated with a reward. Pigeons also have an ability to count that rivals primates. Bro, tell me why folks found out that the Bane of Broadway can read. So what scientists did, right, they taught these pigeons a bunch of words and would either show a real word on screen or a misspelt one to go with a star. If it was an actual word like, for example, dog, they had to peck at the word. And if it was some nonsense like ugged, the rules were to peck at the star. Get it right and they'd win food. Tell me why the feathery assault on your windshield actually did better than the baboons that took the same test. It was at this moment I went from highly impressed to low-key concerned with how smart pigeons are. There's like 5 million of them in NYC. We're cooked if they turn on us. Here's a couple other pigeon facts I picked up. That thing they'll do where they'll fly around in a circle as a synchronized group, that has a name and it's called murmuration. The best theory for why they do this is as a predator response, because their honest to God best defense is just making it harder to be singled out. That weird, crusty looking bump on their beaks is called the operculum, and it's really only there to cover the nostrils. And like a middle-aged hairline, it slowly starts to disappear as they get older. Pigeons are also monogamous and one of the minority of birds that take till death seriously. That's probably why you've never seen a baby pigeon. Parents supervise them virtually 24/7 until they look like the urbanite we're used to. Pigeons are as loyal as
I mean, I'm not so sure about that one. I've seen, yeah, that was a big one. I was like, that fucked me. Like, what? Yeah, even the baby pigeon looked big, so I guess it reached that stage. That is true, right? You don't see baby small pigeons. That's, but the saddest thing is, like he said, like pigeons gets, even though they're smarter as we've seen already, they're also like fucking idiots. I don't know. That it just becomes sad sometimes, right? And I don't know, for whatever reason, some, they try to teach their, kids or whatever to fly, right? It's really interesting. Like they will basically push it down so that it tries to fly but doesn't, and then the parent will come down and try to fly just to show it how to fly, and it still can't. It's just like, oh fuck me, there's gonna be cats around, dogs around, and it just becomes a horrendous sight from there. All you can do is like hope like fucking cat or dog doesn't come, right? Ugh. It's so fucked up. I still remember. But obviously, I don't know if pigeon was... No, wait a minute. Pigeon wasn't fine. I'm pretty sure pigeon wasn't fine. A cat was there somewhere. So that's just fucked up. But yeah, I saw that, like, push down, couldn't learn to fly, and that's it. And I can see like 2-3 pigeons basically just standing around circling just to make sure, and just concerned, because it wasn't learning to fly, which was like, I would never have understood all that unless the pigeon was a nuisance here. But that's all insane.
birds get. So it's no surprise they've had success in the military. This is Cher Ami, one of the many homing pigeons used.
What?
used by the US during World War I. And in 1918, over 500 men got pinned behind enemy lines with no food, water, or ammunition. Their only option was releasing carrier pigeons begging for support, but the surrounding Germans peeped game and started lighting up any pigeon that tried. And that included Sheikh Ami, who got shot out of the air, but like a goddamn phoenix managed to get back up. Against every force of nature, the plucky pigeon made it back to base, traveling a smooth 25 miles in 25 minutes to deliver the message that would end up saving the remaining 194 men. And he did it half blind with a—
Isn't it fucked up? One of the worst wars of the all time also has like pigeon soldiers, because they are doing one of the main works here. They are saving people and shit, so they might as well be soldiers.
bullet wound and a leg
Infantry
hanging on by a
pigeons.
literal thread. The bird, whose name means my dear friend past tense, later the next year, but would be forever immortalized in the Smithsonian as the MVP of the 77th Infantry. G.I. Joe was a homing pigeon who came in clutch when he delivered a message calling off an airstrike of a village that the British had already regained control of from the Germans. If G.I. Joe didn't basically score at the buzzer, at least 1,000 soldiers would have been turned into ashes. And then there was William of Orange, who traveled 250 miles in just over 4 hours to request air support after the radio sets had failed. Turned out he was the air support, and William's carry job saved about 2,000 men. He would be one of the 32 pigeons to earn the Dickin Award, which was basically like a finals MVP but for animals. Somehow pigeons went from war heroes to people actively trying to wipe them out. We really stay doing our troops wrong. But I think it's safe to say
Pigeons are fucking annoying, but who are trying to wipe them out? That's just like next level shit. Like, I don't know. That's not the case in here, right? I don't think I ever witnessed anyone in here, India, basically, who just like, I hate pigeons so much, I want to eliminate them or something. People just feed them and everything, right? Even if people find it nuisance, they're still going to feed it and things like that. I don't know. Maybe that's an India thing. Maybe people have different feel of pigeons somewhere else. Who knows?
I was wrong. I was not familiar with their game. You won't catch me moving like this guy, but I'll definitely respect them. Just from a reasonable distance. And that's the most character development you're gonna get. Drink water, hug your loved, tell a pigeon you appreciate them, and I'ma see y'all.
Yeah. I like the pigeon, basically, how, the guy was sitting there and they're just like, okay, I can sit here. I know this guy's not going to attack me. I like that kind of intelligence, right? It is annoying to me, where, some form of my OCD can't handle all the pigeon shit. But apart from that, pigeons, basically, they'll be afraid of you. But if they realize that you're fine, they'll basically walk around you, sit on your lap and everything. That's just great. Well, that was how humanity gave this animal the middle finger. Pigeons never seen that coming. This was my channel, Geographic. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.